UIkit has a component called Parallax that allows you to add animations based on the scroll position of a page. This is a simplified version of the BizLite design where I've replaced the slideshow with an image. I'll give you a few examples of what can be done with UIkit's Parallax component. In this first example, I just scroll the background image with the text remaining fixed. I added this paragraph with top and bottom padding to give me scrolling space as I test these out. The div that contains the background image is called page header, and the div that contains the text is called page heading. Background images by default size to the height of their container. You can handle this in a variety of ways. Here's the CSS I've used to position and size the background image. Using the cover setting for the background size ensures that the image will cover the area at the various responsive sizes, cropping parts of the image as needed. The attribute Data UK Parallax is where you specify the effects you want to use. To scroll the background image, I add the attribute to the div that uses that background image. I've copied all the parallax options here. BG allows you to animate a background image. So I use the BG option in the data attribute. To scroll the image up 300 pixels, I use the value -300. Notice that the animation continues until that element is out of the viewport. That's a viewport value of 1. To complete the animation sooner, you have two options. You can set the viewport to less than 1. For example, a value of 0.5 would mean the animation completes within the top half of the viewport. In my second example, I've set the viewport to 0.7. The other technique is to base the duration of the animation on the appearance of another element in the viewport using the target option. I have an ID of pTarget on this paragraph. By adding the target option to a Data UK Parallax attribute, you would cause the animation to occur until that targeted element goes out of view. So when I scroll past this paragraph, the animation for this div will be complete. So I have two Data Parallax attributes, one on the outer div which has the background image, one on the inner div which contains the text. So they can be doing different things at the same time. For the text div, I'm using the opacity option, and I'm sending it two values, a starting value and an ending value. The opacity of 0 is transparent or invisible, and 1 is fully opaque. So it's going to fade the text in. At the same time, I'm scaling it. This option works the same way as the opacity. You send it a starting and an ending value. So it's going to go from invisible to 1 or full size. So as I scroll in this time, you see the text scaling up and becoming opaque. And the background is still scrolling up. With the change in the viewport, the background animation is complete at this point. It doesn't continue scrolling anymore. One thing I noticed that it appears the text animation continues. It should be stopping when the paragraph text goes out of view. I think what's throwing it off a little is this sticky nav bar. I don't think it's factoring that in, so the text animation stops about right there. which I think is about the difference of that navbar height. This example uses the grayscale effect. In this case, I am beginning with a full color background image, and it's going to 100% grayscale. For the text div, I'm changing the color from white to gray and the background color from a light gray to a darker gray. The way I have this set up, the div is what is going to receive the changes. Those color changes are not applied directly to the H1 or the P elements. So what I had to do to get this to work is, this is the class on the div surrounding those text elements, and then for the text elements themselves, I have them inheriting the color from the parent. So when the color on this div changes, it will change the H1 and the P elements as well. So grayscale, beginning with full color. The text and the background colors will change as well. The last example is a row of 3 images in a grid created with a list. I've added data UK Parallax attributes to each list item so I can animate each image with different effects. On the first and the last, I use the X option to change the X or the horizontal position of the image. This first one will go from -300 to 0, and that will bring that left image in from the left into position. And the right image does the opposite. It's off the page initially, comes in from the right into position on the page. And the middle image, I'm using the opacity to fade it into view. I've reduced the viewport value even more here, 0.2, so these animations will complete more quickly. So there you see them beginning to come into view and the middle image fading in. I've altered the viewport values. The first one remains at 0.2, and then a 0.5 and a 0.4. Rather than coming in at exactly the same time, we'll see a little difference in the appearance. There we see the left one coming in and completing faster than the right one. It's nice that UIkit includes this parallax component. It can create some interesting effects, but you probably want to avoid going overboard with it.